We will check in next with John Boitnott in for John Palmentary at KEYT News Radio 1250.
Well, good morning to you. And will Highway 101 at Milpas Street expand from 2 lanes to 3? That's certainly something that commuters would like to see happen, and it may happen over the next 5 years. We'll explain.
Okay, John, thank you very much. Welcome back. It's now 6:17. Time to head over to KEYT News Radio 1250 and check in with John Boitnott, who's in all week for John Palmentary.
John Palmentary is frolicking in the shores of Hawaii, and so John Boitnott's got radio duty.
Yes, I sure do. Good morning to both of you. I'm attempting to try and figure out this map that the city of Santa Barbara gave some of us in the news media. A little bit bright there, can't see it, but it gives a before and after picture of Highway 101 from the Milpas area to Hot Springs, Cabrillo. Those 2 exits, obviously a big difficulty for many different commuters who head southbound and also those who head northbound. A total of 9 projects that I'm seeing that would be accomplished over the next several years, just trying to count them all, and they include such things as a large roundabout to be built at Old Coast Highway, Hot Springs Road, and Coast Village Road. That's an idea that they've had for a while, to construct a roundabout there. As we know, traffic's certainly an issue at that 3-way intersection there in the heart of what is Montecito, but is actually still a part of the city of Santa Barbara. An issue there, that's one thing that they're going to be working on. But the big one is their ideas of taking that 2-lane area of Highway 101 as you get to Milpas going southbound and turning it into something with 3 lanes, and then those 3 lanes would go all the way down to Hot Springs Road. Certainly something that could be needed. What's the timetable on this? Well, they're thinking 2008, 2009. Those 2 projects that I've mentioned, and at least 7 others, there's some other little smaller ones here that I'm seeing, they would all cost more than $35 million. So quite a bit on the plate of the Santa Barbara City Council. Yesterday, they took a look at some of these designs, moved forward with a few of them on the way that they want them to look in the future, and they also heard public comment. And coming up on the show from 7 to 9 a.m., we'll have more on that story. Also, one other story we're working on, the Goleta Slough. Environmental groups would like to solidify the environment there for the different birds. It is a bird habitat. It is near the ocean, and it is connected to Goleta Beach. But there is a concern. Once you have a healthy bird population in that area, is it possible that the planes landing and taking off from the Santa Barbara airport might hit some of those birds? They're called bird strikes. And that you get into an area with plane safety there, and the Federal Aviation Administration is concerned about that. And so there is money, a grant from the state that the City Council has approved, because that is also Santa Barbara City Council, or Santa Barbara City land. That area, they've accepted a grant. They're going to conduct an experiment, see if that habitat is bad for birds and if it's bad for the planes. See if there's some way they can let the 2 live together, planes and birds. They both fly, but can they fly together? All right, those are 2 stories that we're working on for the radio station coming up in 20 minutes. I'll have more on the new chairperson for the Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors today. It just happened yesterday. They passed the gavel. All right, John Boitnott here, sending it back up to TV Hill.
Is that Naomi Schwartz?
Naomi Schwartz, you know, this is not the first time Naomi Schwartz has taken the gavel as the person in charge of the Board of Supervisors running the meeting. She's done it before in years past.
She's a lovely lady. It's good to see her in. All right, thanks very much, John. We'll see you next half hour.
And John Boitnott's filling in for John Palmentary this week, and he will take over the Morning Ride radio show at 7 a.m. and he'll tell us real quickly what he's working on for this morning show.
Strong Santa Ana winds have definitely had an effect on the avocado crop on the South Coast. It hasn't been good. We will explain what happened to you coming up.
And a live look outside from our TV. It is 6:44 now. This guy was there, John Boitnott, on the big day, but that wouldn't damper the love in the air, would it, John?
No.
No, it certainly wouldn't. I don't need a parasol, though, but I agree with what you're saying. But should let you know that you always learn something new in this job, and today, although I probably should have known, being a somewhat educated person, avocados are fruit. I didn't know that, but what I did find out also, along with the fact that the avocado happens to be a fruit, is that 7 million pounds of that fruit happen to be damaged because of the very recent Santa Ana winds that we have had. We're going to find out more about that coming up on Key News this morning, starting at 7 a.m. Beth was just talking about the California Coastal Commission and whether or not it is legal to change the subject. Is it? and what can be done to make it legal if it is not. The California State Appellate Court ruled that it is not because of the way that the coastal commissioners are put into that position. They are appointed by assembly members and state senators. Is that legal? That's the crux of the issue. Well, local Assemblywoman Hannah Beth Jackson has a thing or two to say about that and has a few ideas on how maybe that problem, if it is a problem, can be fixed. We will listen to Hannah Beth Jackson coming up from 7 to 9 a.m. on the morning show. Also, speaking of local officials, Santa Barbara County Board of Supervisors, the group that helps to run county government, has a new face and a new chair. The new face is Joe Centeno, former Santa Maria mayor. He's replacing Tom Urbanski, who is retiring as the 5th District Supervisor. And also Gail Marshall passing over the gavel as the chair of 2002 to the brand new chair, 2003, Naomi Schwartz, who has done the job before, but this is another time that she is going to be doing that. We will hear comments from her and some passing remarks from Gail Marshall, who has done her job in 2002, fending off some recall challenges, as a matter of fact. I do have a wine story for you quickly. Just wanted to let you know that wine sales are up compared to last year. Why? According to the Wine Institute, sales rose 7% because of favorable prices to retailers. Thought I'd let you guys know that. John Boitnott here at the radio station, sending it back up to you at TV Hill.
All right, John Boitnott, thank you so much. Enjoy the day, and we'll check in with you tomorrow morning. 16 is the time now. Time to head over to KEYT News Radio 1250 and check in with John Boitnott, who's filling in all week for John Palmentary.
Yeah, when Palmentary's away, Boitnott will play at the radio. Good morning, John.
Well, I will have to try and behave. I'm not going to play too hard down here. We'll start off with former Santa Barbara Mayor Harriet Miller, that $674 billion stimulus plan from George W. Bush. A lot of opinions about that from various people throughout the country and here at home, mixed reviews. But Mayor Miller sounded off on that on the air of KEYT News Radio 1250. She says she agrees with ending taxes on stock dividends, but she has a whole list of problems. She says federal taxes will go up, or rather go down, state taxes will go up, and George W. Bush gets to get most of the credit for that. She does not feel that that is fair. Also, she says, how are we going to finance the war with this stimulus package in which we will not be receiving less tax money? She has a whole list of issues with it, and we will go over that. Those are issues that some other people have brought up, but there are some people who have found great things with the stimulus package. As we said, mixed reviews on it. We'll be talking about that on the show from 7 to 9 this morning. We mentioned yesterday the California Avocado Commission is trying to assess the damage from those Santa Ana winds that we've had recently and what effect those winds have had on avocados, which I learned yesterday is a fruit, and everyone apparently knew except for me. But it turns out that the estimation of the damage is 15 million pounds of fruit blown off the trees. Yesterday morning when we first caught wind of this story, and that was not a pun that I intended, caught wind, when fruit was blown off the trees, we thought it was only 7 million. Yesterday morning, the amount has been tallied up to 15 million. Also, coming up in 20 minutes when we come back to the radio station here, we will be talking about the top transportation issues in the city of Goleta. The city council members in the city of Goleta have a lot of things on their plate, not the least of which are transportation issues, Highway 217, possible roundabouts. Are they going to have stop signs or traffic light signals on 217? That's something that UCSB would not be too happy with. A lot of different transportation issues in the city of Goleta, and we will be talking to Goleta Mayor Jack Hawkshurst coming up in 20 minutes when we come back to the radio station. But for now, I'm John Boitnott. We'll be sending it back up to TV Hill.
John, speaking of roundabouts, I'm not sure everybody still has figured out how to do that Milpas roundabout in Santa Barbara, I find.
I agree with you. There are definitely some issues there where some people sort of have to stop at the roundabout. Yeah. Other people just get to sort of sail right on through. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. So.
All right, well, we'll keep talking about it. John, thanks so much. See you next half hour. 6:19 now.
6:45. We want to check in once again with John Boitnott over at KEYT News Radio 1250 to see what he's got in store for the Morning Ride radio show that starts at 7 a.m.
And a lot of folks, when you're driving about today, will hit some of these turnabouts.
These roundabouts, yes.
And roundabouts, and there is a certain art to driving these roundabouts, because I think a lot of people still have not really figured it out. I'm not even exactly sure when I'm supposed to stop, yield, or go.
You have to be courteous and aggressive at the same time. They're
Yes.
fun once you kind of get it.
Courteously aggressive and aggressively courteous. That's exactly right. Hey, John.
Well, good to see you guys. John Boitnott here filling in for John Palmentary all this week on Key News this morning. Coming up from 7 to 9, we will be talking about, we can always talk about the Milpas Street roundabout in Santa Barbara. You have to mix aggressiveness with courteousness. You're right. It's very difficult. At some spots, you appear to have to stop for the roundabout and yield. Other parts, you appear to be able to just go right on through. The rules with that aren't quite fully understood by a majority of the driving public, it would seem. You just have to kind of go on instinct. Well, I suppose the point of the whole roundabout thing is to talk about what KEYT is going to be doing as far as transportation issues over the next year. What would it be like if you had two roundabouts near Highway 217 or in the Old Town area at some of the different intersections there on Fowler Road and Eckville, some of the different ones that I've heard mentioned. KEYT City Council, it is a new city, and they have quite a plate full of issues to deal with, not the least of which are transportation issues. KEYT definitely has some infrastructure problems in some areas and not the best traffic flow in Old Town. Those are all things that the City Council would like to deal with, and they're going to be attempting to tackle that this year. Coming up on the show from 7 to 9, we talk to KEYT Mayor Jack Hawkshurst, who will be telling us what some of his biggest issues are, and the word roundabout was mentioned. It's something that they are considering, that is for sure. Also, one other issue we'll be dealing with in the city of Santa Barbara, not enough temporary parking sites, too many red zones. We'll explain what we mean. That and Brock Bowling, the voice of the Gauchos here on KEYT News Radio 1250, will have an update from Idaho, Moscow, Idaho, where the UCSB men's basketball team will be having a game tonight. And also we'll be giving away tickets to the Santa Barbara Symphony coming up from 7 to 9 a.m. I'll be sending it roundabout back up to you, Beth and Gabe, on TV Hill.
All right, nicely said, John. We'll see you later on this morning and, of course, tomorrow. It is now 6:40, 6:19. Time to check in with John Boitnott, who's filling in for a few more days this week while John Palmentary's in Hawaii working on his tan.
And, John, as you know, I'm contesting a speeding ticket I got at 4:30 in the morning from a local police officer. It turns out Beth got pulled over the other day, and she got off without a ticket.
He felt sorry for me because I had all these curlers in my hair and my coffee stain.
Curlers in the hair. That's the trick. All right. But John Boitnott is in for another couple of days. I talked to John yesterday. He's in Hawaii, but he'll be back Wednesday. So, John, you've got a couple more days of glory.
Yes, just a couple more, and I will ride them out. I surely will. You might have been able to, both of you, have avoided your traffic problems with not traffic problems, but your police problems on the roadways had you used a bit of mass transit. And that is the goal of one Santa Barbara County group, Traffic Solutions, which is part of the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments. The County of Santa Barbara obviously very concerned about traffic situations in several different spots in Santa Barbara County. One of them happens to be Milpas going through Santa Barbara, and there are a few up in Santa Maria and other areas on the south coast as well, Carpinteria, and some of the other ones where there are just a ton of vehicle trips a day from one city to another. They really want to promote ride-sharing, public transportation, biking, walking, even telecommuting, which we talked about last week. Traffic Solutions has come out with a map. This is just Santa Barbara right here. It's a bit glare-ish right there, but that's just the Santa Barbara part of the map. But they have Santa Maria, they have Lompoc, they have Buellton, Santa Ynez, Carpinteria, Goleta, all the different cities, all the different mass transit systems. They have everything from the Guadalupe Flyer to the Santa Barbara Metropolitan Transit District. They have all of them, all the different times and everything. So just contact Traffic Solutions or the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments. They'll be able to get you a look at all the different mass transit systems and ways to save and conserve energy as well while commuting and cutting down on the amount of vehicle trips. And coming up, about 20 minutes from now when we come back to you from the radio station here, we'll also talk about the Santa Barbara School District and how this budget crunch in the state of California is going to be affecting the Santa Barbara School District. For now, I'm John Boitnott, sending it back to you up on TV Hill.
Okay, John, thanks so much. We'll see you in the next half hour.
It is 6:43, time to check in once again with John Boitnott.
And the radio show starts at 7 a.m., usually hosted by John Palmentary, but he's taking some well-deserved time off, so John Boitnott at the helm. Hi, John.
Hello, Gabe and Beth. Yes, that's right. I don't know if John Palmentary has ever taken this much time off, but here I am, ready to fill in if he needs me. And apparently he does, because here I am. First thing we want to talk about, the superintendent of public instruction in Santa Barbara, the city of Santa Barbara. There are two there are two districts. One's a high school district, one is an elementary school district. They're definitely both going to be affected by the budget cuts that are taking place. As you know, California, $35 billion state budget shortfall, and so it's definitely going to have an effect on the school districts in the city of Santa Barbara. How much, we are not sure yet. They do know it will be a dramatic effect. And analysts from the school district are at a workshop in Sacramento this week. We'll tell you about that. They're going to get the information from state government, find out exactly what they may need to do as far as cuts in the local school districts here. So we'll have more on that coming up on the show from 7 to 9 a.m. Also, we had a chance earlier on to talk with the new mayor of Goleta, Jack Hawkshurst. So many things going on in Goleta, quite a bit. Extra meetings being held all the time among officials, transportation issues, infrastructure issues, longer city council meetings, controversial issues, housing issues. Left and right, there's something going on, and we'll talk about a very stormy first month for Goleta Mayor Jack Hawkshurst. Also, did you know that Monterey and Ventura counties provide half of California's strawberry crops? Well, it is actually a record 2002 season. We will be giving you the details on that coming up on the show from 7 to 9 a.m. here on KEYT News Radio 1250 as we continue to fill in for John Palmentary. I'm John Boitnott, sending it back up to Beth and Gabe on TV Hill.
Okay, thanks a lot, John. I know this is something that's making news there at the... it is now 6:20 in the morning, and John Boitnott is at the radio station.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. It's good to see Bob Sen on the TV again from Los Olivos Wine and Spirits Emporium up in the Santa Ynez Valley. I'll continue with the wine grape story for you right now. You know, the wine grapes in the Central Coast have a new pest apparently to deal with. Gabe might know about it already, as he usually does with the wine information. It's a vine mealy bug that feeds on the grapevines and produces a sticky substance called honeydew that causes mold to grow on the grapes. We'll have more on that coming up on the radio morning show from 7 to 9 a.m. Rolling our video for you today, we're going to take a look at the brand new big aircraft carrier for the United States Navy, USS Ronald Reagan. That thing is expected to last about 50 years or so and participate in the United States war on terrorism. It's also been adopted by the city of Santa Barbara. And the Santa Barbara Navy League has a big announcement today about a national project in support of those officers and the crew of the USS Ronald Reagan, which has been adopted by the city of Santa Barbara. We'll be explaining what that national project is, and they'll be announcing it today. We'll give you a preview. Also, the price of the bus fare in Santa Barbara is going up again. Yes, it is, most likely. Just depends on where it's going up to. Right now, it's at $1 a ride. Probably going to go up to about $1.30. $1.35. And the Coalition for a Living Wage, a local group fighting social issues, will be protesting again about the bus fare in Santa Barbara. We'll have a preview of that, hopefully talking to one of the organizers. That's all coming up on the morning show from 7 to 9 a.m. on KEYT News Radio 1250. I'm John Boitnott, sending it back up to Beth and Gabe on TV Hill.
And you know, John, you mentioned the USS Ronald Reagan. I think today's the day that Ty Warner introduces a Beanie Baby in honor of the former president.
Oh, very good. Quite a tribute.
Yeah, that's right. And it's got the USS Reagan connection. So we'll do that story later on today. All right, let's check the weather. We'll check in with... Yeah.
And we're enjoying John Boitnott as long as we can before John Palmentary comes back. Hey, John.
Hey, guys. How you doing today? I'm enjoying being a part of your show as well. Coming up on the radio show from 7 to 9 a.m. today, we'll be taking a look at in-home caretakers for disabled people, you know, that apparently don't get paid nearly enough. In the county of Santa Barbara and in the state of California. We'll be looking at a state grant that may be increasing the pay of in-home caretakers for disabled people. We're talking about prices and the amount that people make, salaries. It certainly goes without saying that it's very difficult for people to make ends meet in Santa Barbara. We roll our video for you right now on the South Coast, and one of the ways we measure whether or not there is a middle class in Santa Barbara is whether or not people are able to afford a home. And these are some in Goleta right here that were recently being built. You know, it costs about $800,000. That's the median asking price for a home in Santa Barbara. These in Goleta a little bit cheaper, but not much cheaper, that's for sure. We're going to talk to a psychologist on the morning show today about housing in our area. That's one issue that causes a notable lack of infrastructure. You know, one statistic stated that more than 30% of the people who work in the Santa Barbara area actually come from a different area using the highways. So problems with infrastructure, the increased price of housing. It's leading to a possible lack of a middle class on the South Coast. We'll talk to the psychologist about that issue. That's just one of the things we'll be talking about. Also, an update on the exotic Newcastle disease, and we'll be talking to local Assemblymember Tony Strickland about the lack of a budget in the state of California. What can the Republicans and Democrats do to come together on this issue? The Republicans have put their ideas forth. That has failed. The Democrats have put their ideas forth. That apparently has failed. So what's it going to take? Selling bonds, raising taxes? What are we talking here? We'll talk to Tony Strickland about that. Coming up on the morning show from 7 to 9 a.m. on KEYT, News Radio 1250. I'm John Boitnott, sending it back up to Gabe and Beth on TV Hill.
All right, and of course, Governor Davis spoke to Key News last week. He's hopeful that...
Head over to the KEYT News Radio 1250 studios to see what's in store for the Morning Ride Show.
And this is John Boitnott's grand finale of sorts for now, because John Palminteri is back tomorrow.
He is.
But you've enjoyed your ride, haven't you, John?
You've been in the groove.
Yes, well, yeah, I've certainly tried to. Nothing's gotten in my way. Everything's gone pretty well. Yeah, coming up on the morning show today from 7 to 9 on KEYT News Radio 1250, we'll be talking about members of the Congressional Wine Caucus saying their long-term effort to broaden internet wine sales should benefit from a new government report. We will explain what we mean about that, and Gabe will have to listen because I know he's into the wine subject matter. Rolling our videotape that we have for you this morning on lettuce contamination earlier this year because of the chemical perchlorate, which actually happens to be found in our area. Apparently, it's a toxic substance in making. The San Field Lab also potentially found in Vandenberg Air Force Base lettuce at supermarkets earlier this year. Well, a new bill by a similar habit identified where that chemical is. That chemical shed in the groundwater very quickly. We're going to find out where it is with the bill that's moving through the state legislature, and then come up to deal with the chlorate problem. And we talked with Assemblymember Jackson about that. We'll be talking about the subject in general coming up on the show from 7 to 9. We will also deal with who is back at the Santa Barbara City Council, but a celebration. When does the celebration take place, and what is it all about, and who are those details for you coming up when join you on the morning show on the radio station from 7 to 9 a.m. And I'll also do the next half hour, and I'll see both you, Rosemary, and Gabe at that point.
All right,
John, that's not an easy word to say. John, he thinks that he's in town who has one of these. He saw one on Hope Ranch, 23 years ago. I mean, that's about.
Well, I just wanted to know what you were drinking in that one in the passenger seat. It looked more like
But it was actually a Diet Coca-Cola.
I know he would say that. All right, coming up on the morning show, 7 a.m. on KEYT News Radio 1250, we'll be giving out more American flags. We will also be giving out Santa Barbara Foresters tickets and limited mugs for you. See how long they last, but we do have a few left. We're giving on the morning show today. We'll also be talking about a 300-mile bike trip through Bolivia, partially being organized by Direct Relief International, with proceeds going to medical. All our video for you today. We will let you know we'll be talking about the budget rains in California. According to local Assembly member Hannah Beth Jackson, there could be a tunnel.
Now, at least, we know what the parameters are. We know the outline of our differences. And up till now, we really haven't known that.
Well, a positive note by Jackson. The Republicans chimed in with their own budget plan, even though she says it would taken away from a lot of different programs that she cares about. But at least they both know what the other is saying, and now they can sort of put that together and try and come up with a compromise. The people who are with Democrats and Republicans who on issues, they can put their heads together on that. We'll also talk about 50 Carpinteria High School students out an oil company, Veneco, put together what's going on the morning show today. Join us, won't you? For not here at the radio station, sending it back up to TV Hill, Rosemary, and Gabe.
So you think these white mugs will be collector's items, John?
I do think that they could possibly be nice.
One to mine.
Me too.
KEYT News Radio 12.
Key News reporter John Mike, the richest and the poor of Oxnard will get all the education they can handle at a brand new modern campus filled with all the amenities. But literally embedded on the school are quotes from civil rights legend Thoroughgood Marshall, delivering a powerful message to young minds. As the doors open at Thoroughgood Marshall Elementary in Oxnard, it's hard not to think of all the doors open for minorities by the great civil rights leader.
Parents had to work. If my parents wanted me to have the most up-to-date textbooks, they had to buy them. Or if they took what were the loaners from the schools, sometimes they were the later editions that had come from the white schools.
Principal Ernie Morrison is from the South and knows exactly what it was like for him to get the hand-me-downs from the white schools.
You realize it as a child growing up, and you're living in a neighborhood that's schools that's just life.
But Principal Morrison says Marshall will change all that. In a several decades activist, lawyer, and the first ever black Supreme Court justice, he was victorious in Brown versus the Board of Education, which abolished school segregation in the United States. How perfect then is it that this racially diverse school be given his name in a racially diverse, fast-growing town? The Oxnard area is, of course, growing by leaps and bounds. Just 20 years ago, there wasn't anybody here. So as the population has grown, so has the need for schools. This new school speaks to an ethnically diverse America. Quotes line the walls, right? Students and teachers of Marshall's thoughts and schoolwork.
When a child leaves here in 6th grade, 7 years of learning about Thoroughgood Marshall, they're going to know what he did, what he stood for.
If Thoroughgood Marshall was here today, I think he'd be blessed and just ecstatic with what we've created.
Marshall would have also been excited about the technology at the school. It houses a massive computer lab and is equipped with at least 6 internet stations in every classroom. The students will begin attending the school on Wednesday. I'm John Boitnott. Mike, back to you.
Thanks, John. Here in Santa Barbara, Korean War veterans from the Tri-Counties came to the Holy Cross Church for a stirring tribute. It was meant to honor the soldiers who gave their lives in a war some people call the forgotten conflict. Key News reporter John Boitnott was at the ceremony today and has our story.
As I reached the top of the hill, I felt an impact, and I fell down, and I knew that I had been wounded.
Santa Barbara's very own Luis Torres may use a walker to get around these days, but he still talks about the time he ran up a hill, taking and returning gunfire when he was wounded in Korea.
You are in kind of shock, so you don't realize. Then I realized I wasn't hurt very badly, so I became very happy, really elated, because that was my ticket out of the front line.
Luis was just one of dozens of vets honored with medals at the 16th annual flag-raising ceremony at Holy Cross Church Sunday.
All of you, we salute you today.
Congresswoman Lois Capps was one of those who paid tribute. She may be running again soon for the 23rd District seat in Congress, and she took the opportunity to campaign for veterans' health. Many of those vets are disabled.
We owe them our thanks and our gratitude, but we also owe them a decent life. And I work so hard on veterans' benefits. Many of my colleagues do. It's so hard for veterans to get to their treatment down in Los Angeles. We need to have them use facilities here.
Today's event celebrated the signing of an armistice ending the Korean War. With more than 30,000 American troops still patrolling the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea, most people say the conflict never actually ended. This type of ceremony is incredibly helpful to the veterans of this war because it is often considered a forgotten conflict, something Luis Torres can't understand because in his mind, Korea was America's first attempt to stop communism in its tracks.
Today, as we get older, we like to more people to know, because as one of the speakers said, the Korean War was the beginning of the end of the communist empire.
John Boitnott, Key News.